For the final time of the 2018 championship, welcome to the BRSCC Mazda MX-5 SuperCups. Now, as I said, this is the final race weekend, and we have the current 2017 champion, Luke Herbert, actually starting in pole for today. So, how are you finding it?
Stressful. Yeah, it's a four-stage weekend, qualifying in 3 races. We've just got to take each one as it comes. You know, qualifying, we put it on pole, which is, you know, absolutely perfect for us. And then yeah, we just got to do the best we can in every race, because we've got reverse grid race to take into account later. We've got drop scores that come into effect, so the fastest laps. So yeah, it's not just a case of I'm pole and Jack's 14th. It's a case of I've got to do the best I can, as much as I can.
Brilliant, right? We'll wish you the best of luck, Luke.
Thank you very much.
Go get them. So we've got Jack Harding here in P14, who's also currently, as I said, neck and neck on points with Luke. This is going to be a bit of a controversy weekend, and it's going to be great. So Jack, I know you're just about to get yourself ready here, but do you have any thoughts going into this race?
Get to the front as quick as I can, and that's it really.
Well, we know you are pretty quick on track, and you do have this thing where you seem to just tear it up. So are you willing to go in and just tear up the whole race?
Yeah, I got nothing to lose, have I? Win it or go home, so.
Brilliant, right, we'll wish you the best of luck, Jack. Right, so on that note, we're going to hand it straight over to Andy to run you through the rest of the grid.
Yeah, thanks Lyndsay. Well, there have been 19 races this season so far, and it all boils down to these last 3. Luke Herbert did what he needed to do in qualifying. He's on pole ahead of Aidan Hills alongside him. Will Stacey and Steve Roberts row 2 ahead of Will Stevenson and James Blake Baldwin, with Sam Tatler and Gary Townsend on row number 4. Alec Livesley and Johnny Greensmith round out the top 10 ahead of James Kell and Colin Bysouth. Then Simon Baldwin and Jack Harding, joint championship leader with Luke Herbert, but 13 cars between them at the start of this first of 3 races this weekend. There is 1 race today on the Saturday, 2 on the Sunday. Rain is forecast tomorrow, but for now we do have a bone dry track ahead of 20 minutes of action in the BRSCC Mazda MX-5 SuperCup. Bradley Kent rounds out the runners after not getting out there in qualifying, so the 38 car one to watch from the back. It is the all-blue car though of Luke Herbert that has the pole position. Keep an eye for the white, blue and red number 43 of Harding from further back. The race is underway though, the lights go out. It's a good start from Herbert on pole position, and he will lead them down towards Redgate for the first time. Aidan Hills, the blue and orange car in the middle there in second place, and round the outside is coming Steve Roberts, who's had a real resurgence this weekend after some good runs in the middle of the season. He's now looking to finish his season with a strong set of results here at Donington Park. In the gravel though at Redgate, unfortunately, is Mitchell Hale, but he will dig his way out and continue. Looking in the middle of the pack there is Jack Harding, number 43, so he's not made a great start. Started 14th after a really lacklustre qualifying session, but we've seen this a few times this year from Jack, where qualifying doesn't necessarily go his way, but he's able to carve his way through the field. As Lyndsay referred to, his race pace is a lot better than his qualifying pace. He's already picked up 1 place there at the expense of Alec Livesley. He's now to the tail of Johnny Greensmith. Well, Johnny started 10th, so if he's held position, that means that Harding has gained several places already. Livesley running out wide as they go through McLean's for the first time. They're all still there at the back of the field there. The number 23 car of Mark Swarbrick, the orange car, works his way up the hill. But he, with a novice cross on the back of his car, still getting used very much to racing in some of his early races of his career here. At the front of the field, they have one of the most experienced drivers in the field, Luke Herbert, with his teammate Aidan Hills following him. I wonder whether those two are going to work together to try and pull away from the rest of the field. In third place is James Blake Baldwin, but he locks up into the chicane. Steve Roberts goes around the outside and risks getting squeezed out wide. But look at Jack Harding. Jack Harding over the curbs. Oh, off goes Johnny Greensmith in the background. Johnny Greensmith is off and into the barriers, unfortunately, I think. Whether or not he'll be able to resume, we'll have to wait and see. The rest of the field, though, run down towards Redgate Corner for the second time of asking. It's Herbert leading the way. It's Hills in second position. As I said, those two may choose to pull away and work together here and pull away from the rest of the field. For third place, it's very close indeed with James Blake Baldwin and Steve Roberts. We're on board with Will Stevenson, though, as we go down through Hollywood. And in front of us, Jack Harding on the right. On the left, I think, is Gary Townsend. So Jack Harding is well inside the top 10 already at the completion of the opening lap. I reckon that move has just put him into 7th place, would you believe? So he's already gained half of the positions that he needs to if he wants to get to the front of the field. Now, though, he's starting to hit some of the quicker runners at the front of the field. Colin Bysouth at the back end of the next group of cars he's chasing down. But if he can get onto turns with that group, then that is a fight for a podium position, would you believe? There's Simon Baldwin ducking up the inside of Will Stevenson further back, just towards the back end of the top 10 now. This, in fact, for 9th place as they turn through Coppice Corner. And Simon goes through on the inside line. Out of Coppice they go, but the safety safety car is being scrambled. So the safety car is called for. Unsurprisingly, we had, I believe, Johnny Greensmith off at the chicane. Also, George Grant is off somewhere else around the lap. So with a couple of cars at the side of the road, the safety car has been scrambled. A brilliant start, though, for this man, Jack Harding, who comes into this race tied on points with Luke Herbert. Now, that's after you take their worst 3 scores out of the equation. They dropped their 3 worst scores. Now, for Jack Harding, he's been very consistent, never out of the top 5 all year. So, in a way, he can sort of rely on that to fall back on. Should he have a bad result at any point this weekend, then his drop scores could come back to save him. He's had 3 fifth-place finishes, one of which he scored the fastest lap as well. So he's dropping a total of 278 points, which is 5 less than Luke Herbert is dropping, because Luke, if you remember back at the start of the year, had that mechanical issue on the green flag lap ahead of the very first race at Donington Park. He came from the back of the grid, having fixed the issue himself, to finish 7th in race 1 and then 6th in race 2, but they were 2 of what became his 3 drop scores at this stage of the race. The other one was a 4th place finish a little bit later on in the year at Brands Hatch. So Luke Herbert dropping slightly less points as a result of that, 273. But he has less of a cushion as far as drop scores are concerned. If he were to have another finish, for example, outside of the top 7, he would have to count it. It would not become one of his drop scores. So that's where these things get very interesting indeed with the drop score situation. For the time being, though, Jack Harding, well, he's in 7th. This would become a drop score, which means that he counts back one of the 94-point finish that he got back earlier in the year when he got that fastest lap and a 5th place. So that's how quickly things can change. The thing is, though, that it's entirely likely that Jack Harding is going to gain further ground. This safety car has played perfectly into his hands, because remember, he had that little bit of clean air to bridge to try and get up to the 3rd place battle, and they in turn had dropped back from these two. These two are teammates, remember. They may not be running with the same livery, but they run out of the same awning, and Aidan Hills, whilst he's going out there to try and win races himself, of course, we saw that earlier in the year when he took that sensational debut victory at Alton Park, when Luke Herbert was the man who was really applying the pressure towards the end of that 3rd race of the weekend. And in fact, so vigorous was Aidan's defensive driving that it allowed Jack Harding to get ahead of Aidan's teammate Luke, his big championship rival. And so Aidan has proven this year that he's not afraid to get his elbows out and to race anybody out there, regardless of what team they run for. However, at this stage of the year, for Aidan, there's really nothing to be gained from getting too aggressive with anyone out there, because he comes into this weekend 3rd in the points. He can't win the championship anymore, and he can't lose 3rd place. So he will finish, regardless of what happens, he will finish 3rd in the 2018 championship, which is a fantastic result, by far the best achievement that he's had so far in his MX-5 career. So for Aidan Hills, in a way, he could afford to play rear gunner here for his teammate, but whether or not that plan continues to be the case over the weekend awaits to be seen. For the time being, it looked as though they were working together in the early part of the race. Whether that continues now that everyone's bunched back together again after this safety car restart, who knows? There's Jack Harding. Colin Bysouth will be the first man on his hit list. He is in 6th position at the moment. And of course, the fastest lap will come into all of this as well. The fastest lap, remember, is worth 2 bonus points. So if either of the championship contenders were to set that fastest lap, then that would give them an extra 2 points, which could prove absolutely pivotal going into the final 2 races tomorrow. As I said, rain is forecast for tomorrow, but whether that comes through, we don't know. And if it does rain, just how heavily it's going to rain awaits to be seen too. But in the wet conditions or the dry conditions, these two just seem exceptionally evenly matched. They've been inseparable all year, really. Very often the pair of them have been on the podium in each and every race, rarely outside of the top 5. And in a way, that's what led to that little bit of needle that we saw last time out at Croft. Remember that Harding and Herbert did have that little bit of contact towards the end of race 3, where Herbert came through to overtake Jack Harding to take 2nd place. Jack didn't appreciate the little bit of contact that was made on the way through, though, and I know there were words exchanged post-race. Let's hope that they've put that all behind them, because what we don't want to see is contact deciding the championship. We want to see this decided in clean, hard racing out on the track. And That is certainly what we've seen throughout the bulk of the season. Luke Herbert is really backing them all up here, which means I think we're about to go racing again. And it's time to light the blue touch paper once more, because with the championship still very much on the line and the championship contenders now getting ever closer together on the track, this could get very exciting indeed. Across the start-finish line they go. The safety car disappears into the pit lane on the right of shot, and at the centre of shot is your race leader, your reigning champion Luke Herbert. And as things stand, he would take the championship lead going into the final day of racing tomorrow. Aidan Hills right on his tail as they turn through Redgate Corner. James Blake Baldwin in third, fourth is Steve Roberts, fifth is Will Stacey, Colin Bysouth sixth, and Jack Harding going with them in seventh. There's then a bit of a gap back to eighth position Simon Baldwin, ninth Gary Townsend, and 10th I think is still Will Stevenson. Down the hill they go. James Blake Baldwin in third position. Well, he really could be the loose cannon here, couldn't he? Because he really doesn't care about the championship points, apart from the fact that he arrives here just 6 points behind Johnny Greensmith for fourth in the championship. Now, James Blake Baldwin doesn't strike me as the kind of man who would go out celebrating finishing fourth in the championship. He's someone that, for the bulk of the year, looked like he would be fighting for the outright title. But still, if there's an extra position in the points to be gained, then James will go for it. And his best chance of doing that is to try and go for race victories. He's right with Aidan Hills now as they go in towards Coppice Corner. So Aidan, who had that bit of a buffer over the third place man earlier on, now is having to watch his mirrors a lot more than he would like to. In the background, I think I spotted that Jack Harding had gone into sixth position, so he's found a way past Colin Bysouth. Aidan Hills, though, closing in on Luke Herbert here, down towards the chicane, and Luke, if he starts to have to defend here from the cars behind, that's going to bunch this group of cars up even further. Well, there is Harding. He has indeed now regained that position, so he's into sixth. Will Stacey, the next target, as they streak across the start-finish line. He's in the slipstream, on board with the man who is joint championship leader coming into this final meeting of the year. He pulls to the outside of the youngster, the young ex-Lotus driver who had that sensational victory at Silverstone at the start of the season. Jack with the wide line into Redgate, cuts back to the late apex, tries to get up the inside towards Hollywood. Has he managed to prise the door open? Will Stacey trying desperately to close the door, but he can't do it, and so Harding is alongside him. The leading four single file then, still Herbert, Hills, Blake Baldwin and Roberts. It's all about fifth position though, as Harding goes up the inside of Stacey. He will go through, and James Blake Baldwin there had a little look up the inside of Aidan Hills as well. That would not be what Luke Herbert wants to see in his mirrors. With Aidan Hills, he has at least a not unfriendly competitor behind him, but James Blake Baldwin will have absolutely no reason to stick to the rear bumper of Herbert. He will want to go through and win the race and take points away from the championship contender. For the time being, though, this is playing actually quite nicely into the hands of Jack Harding, because the leaders are not getting away. Jack seems to have the pace in this bone-dry qualifying session, race, excuse me, more pace than he had in qualifying this morning, which was a little bit damp, I believe. So maybe the change of conditions is what's done it for Jack. Maybe it's tyres, maybe it's setup, who knows. But he's into fifth, and he can see the race leader and his championship rival getting ever closer in front of him. Down through the chicane they come. Still 7 cars for the lead, though, because Harding and Bysouth and Stacey, they're all still well and truly with these leading four. As they come across the start-finish line again, Herbert, they may be just starting to escape now, because Aidan Hills is getting on the defence here to try and keep James Blake Baldwin behind. There was half a gap up the inside. Blake Baldwin chose not to go for it, and that could actually be his undoing, because around the outside goes Steve Roberts. These two made contact, remember, at Castle Combe earlier on this season, which wrote off Steve Roberts' car and warranted a disqualification for Blake Baldwin, which put him out of the championship fight. So let's hope these two have kissed and made up since then. Roberts on the inside for the left-hander at the Crane of Curves, forces his way over to the inside of the old hairpin and goes into third. Great driving there from Steve Roberts. Then you've got Jack Harding behind, who's watching this battle with interest, trying to figure out where he needs to go. There's bodywork flapping on the rear of Aidan Hills' car. That rear bumper is not going to stay attached for much longer. They go up towards McLean's, and that will also be acting as a bit of a parachute. This is a very high-speed circuit, and Aidan Hills actually will not be that disappointed to be getting a bit of a nudge there from Roberts. That could dislodge the bumper ever further. It delayed Roberts, though, so Blake Baldwin goes up the inside, and Jack Harding's going to try and follow him through as well. Jack Harding for fourth position, staying right onto the rear bumper of James Blake Baldwin. They both got the inside of Steve Roberts. So quickly your fortunes can change in MX-5 SuperCup racing. 1 minute Roberts was making a great move into third, and now all of a sudden he's back down into fifth. It may even get worse for him, because Will Stacey's going to try and follow Jack Harding through here. Down on the brakes they go, into the chicane, through the right. Roberts desperately trying to find his gap back in line, which he does. Clobbers the curb though, gets sideways, and that means that Stacey and presumably Colin Bysouth might get the exit speed on him. Yes, they do. Look, Bysouth gets himself alongside Stacey. Both Stacey and Roberts were delayed in all of that, and Colin Bysouth could benefit from it. So Herbert leading the way, Hills second, Blake Baldwin third, Harding now fourth. Simon Baldwin, look, the number 16 car starting to join in the fun as well. So it's now an 8-car lead train, and the more they dice, the bigger that queue of cars is likely to get. Good battling going on further back. This, though, for second place, Aidan Hills does seem to be struggling a bit here. Now, the cynic in me says that this could be a ploy to try and allow Luke Herbert to escape, but knowing Aidan as I do, I don't think that's what he's doing. I think he's really genuinely got his hands full here, trying to keep James Blake Baldwin behind. But if he thinks that it's going to be difficult to keep Blake Baldwin behind him, he ain't seen nothing yet, because Jack Harding is almost there. Look, he's in 4th position now, and if he can get into 3rd, then nothing is going to stop him getting past Aidan Hill. Surely he is going to be really determined to get past, because he can see the leader getting away. Blake Baldwin goes to the outside of Hills at Coppice, and that opens the door for Harding on the inside. And just as we saw happen to Roberts a lap ago, Blake Baldwin now risks getting freight train. In fact, Harding's got up the inside of both of them. Look at this, they're 3 abreast for 2nd place, and Jack Harding is going for it. He's on the inside for 2nd position. They'll both go past Aidan Hills, but I think that Jack is going to come out of the chicane in P2, and all of a sudden there is nothing to choose between the leading 2 in the championship. Steve Roberts comes through into 3rd as well, so that really didn't work out for Blake Baldwin, or for Aidan Hills in fact. So it's now Harding 2nd, it's Roberts 3rd, Blake Baldwin waving there furiously at somebody. Will Stacey is the man to his right there, trying to go through. Colin Bysouth and Aidan Hills are really starting to squabble, and Simon Baldwin says, I want a bit of this as well. Bysouth dives through the middle of the 2 blue cars there, and somehow comes out of Redgate corner. Well, I was going to say 4th place, he ran a bit too deep on the brakes though, gets out onto the grass and falls right back down the order. So this is typical Mazda MX-5 SuperCup racing, and this is the worry, of course, for the likes of Herbert and Harding, because whilst they're fighting for the championship, all of this is going on around them, and it's so easy for them to just get caught up in someone else's incident. And, well, thankfully for Harding, he's picked his way magnificently through this group of cars and is now remarkably into 2nd position. So, as things stand, Herbert would take 2 points out of Jack Harding, except Herbert has the fastest lap at this point, so he would actually take 4 points out of him. 4 points would be all that separated them going into the final 2 races of the season. In towards Coppice goes this fight for 4th position, and that's Simon Baldwin up the inside of Will Stacey now. So Simon Baldwin, who a couple of laps ago was 8th, is now into 4th, and James Blake Baldwin, his stepbrother, is starting to follow him through as well. He's also up the inside of Stacey. Got Gary Townsend closing in. Jack Sycamore in the background is not a million miles away either, as this sea of blue cars descends upon the chicane. Oh, Will Stacey sideways, was never going to make the corner, takes the gravel trap, rejoins, loses ground. He'll have dirt on his tyres as well, and this whole queue of cars is going to drive straight past him. He tries to get back in line in front of Gary Townsend, but I think Townsend had enough momentum to drive past anyway, and Jack Sycamore pulls himself alongside too. So for Will Stacey, again, a bit of a snakes and ladders race this. He was up, he was down, now he's got the bulk of the, well, basically about 1/3 of the race still to go to try and pick his way back up towards the top. This race is absolutely flying by, such is the frenetic nature of the action we're seeing out there. This is all going on towards the back end of the top 10. Meanwhile, Jack Harding in 2nd place has just set the fastest lap of the race. That could prove crucial. That means that now, as things stand, he and Luke Herbert would score exactly the same amount of points. So, because you get 100 for a race victory, you get 98 for 2nd, but you get 2 bonus points for the fastest lap. So a 2nd place with a fastest lap is worth the same amount of points as a race victory. So Jack Harding doing everything he can here from 14th on the grid. It's already been an incredible fight back to get into 2nd place, but of course by setting fastest lap pace, not only is he taking a couple of points for the fastest lap, but he's also closing in on the race leader Luke Herbert. Has he got time, I wonder, to get there and maybe even find a way past Luke? He certainly seems to have good speed. He's been quicker than everyone else that he's come up against in this race, but has he got the pace to close in on his big championship rival? Will Stacey, meanwhile, in the background, I noticed was slowing down, so Will unfortunately seems to have hit some sort of a mechanical issue, and so the blue car in the background there, the Rob Boston Racing car, actually I thought it was going to pit, but it's not, it's continued. But you can see that Jack Sycamore's gone through, so too has James Harris and Sam Tatler, so he's let quite a few drivers go there and he's lost a lot of time. But Will try and limp it home, I'm sure. You score points wherever you finish, as long as you finish. If you're not running at the flag, you don't score any points. So I suppose for Will Stacey, with only a few laps to go, he may as well just try and limp it home. Of course, the grid for race 2 has already been set. It's decided by the 2nd fastest times in qualifying, so Will, it doesn't really matter if he finishes right at the back in this race, he will still be taking the start of the next race from the inside of row number 2. Incidentally, as far as the championship contenders are concerned, for race 2, Herbert is back on pole, and Jack Harding, well, his 2nd fastest lap time was a bit better than his 1st, if you see what I mean. He qualifies 11th for race number 2, so it was a bit more competitive on 2nd fastest lap times, but it's still outside of the top 10, so he knows that he got the opportunity here to work his way through the order and get into 2nd place. He has to maximise that now, because there's nothing to say that he's going to enjoy the same sort of fortune tomorrow. Down the back straight they go. You caught a glimpse there of how much closer together those two were. Down in towards the chicane comes James Blake Baldwin. Now he's had a good lap here, hasn't he? He's caught up now to Simon Baldwin. So the two Baldwins together, 16 ahead of 4. And James Blake Baldwin out of the final chicane, pulls in the slipstream, and he's going to be able to get through or not. He crosses the start-finish line, and he's looking for 4th position if at all possible. The leaders, though, are pretty much together now. Luke Herbert ahead of Jack Harding by only a few car lengths, but James Blake Baldwin has just set the fastest lap. So James Blake Baldwin has now nicked those 2 championship points away from Jack Harding. So it's back to how it was now. Herbert is, as we stand, going to outscore his championship rival by 2 points. So he will take that same amount of points advantage into tomorrow's final 2 races. Through Starkeys goes Luke Herbert, who we heard saying to Lyndsay pre-race how important every point would be and how it could come down to things like fastest laps. And it's not beyond the realms of possibility that come tomorrow afternoon, that could be what decides the championship. But right now, he's not thinking about the maths. It's fairly simple. If he finishes in front of Jack Harding, he takes the championship lead. If he finishes behind Jack Harding, he loses the championship lead. So this is a straightforward fight at the head of the field, and this really is what we wanted to see, because the two of them, when they get together, you're guaranteed fireworks, and Jack Harding will be well and truly fired up, not just because of what happened at Croft last time out between the two of them, but because he's had one of those races as Jack where he's just been overtaking everyone left, right and centre. And when you have a race like that as a driver, you just want to carry on overtaking people, and when there's one more car to get past, all of a sudden you start to realise that maybe the race victory is possible. We are, though, on to the final lap of the race now, so Jack Harding has only one more lap of the Donington Park National circuit to try and find a way through, and he's much quicker into Redgate Corner, took the wide line into the turn, gets the switchback, and this could be it. Jack Harding up the inside of Luke Herbert to go through Hollywood, but Luke just about is going to be able to move across to the inside line and fend off Jack Harding for now. Through the left-hander, down towards the old hairpin. This is a potential overtaking opportunity. And indeed, Jack thought about it. Look at that, he takes extra speed into the turn, but doesn't lose the ground on the exit. Sometimes by going in quick, you can be slow on the exit of the corner, but Jack's car working really well for him here. He's using the significant slipstream you get around this high-speed circuit as well to really force Luke Herbert to defend, almost side by side in towards McLean's. Again, it's Harding with the wide sweeping line into the corner, just trying desperately to get the superior exit speed. Up towards Coppice, though, and Herbert not feeling the need to defend just yet, hopping over the curbs, both of them taking near identical lines through the corner. 2 more corners to go, 1 more braking zone. Can Jack Harding find a way up the inside of Luke Herbert? Down the hill they come towards the Robert chicane for the last time of asking. Luke Herbert has Jack Harding weaving around behind him, and Luke Herbert it is who comes into the chicane, the race leader. He comes out of the chicane, the race leader, and he will finish the race as the championship leader. 2 points between them going into the final 2 races of the season, and Luke Herbert hangs on for what could prove to be a crucial race victory. Jack Harding comes home in 2nd place. He scores 2 points less, though, than his championship rival, and will trail Luke Herbert by just 2 points with 2 races to go. The eventual winning margin, just to round out the symmetry, was basically 0.2 of a second, 0.192, separating them at the flag. Confirmation, though, that Herbert takes the victory, with Harding 3rd, Roberts is 3rd, excuse me. Blake Baldwin is 4th, with the fastest lap, crucially, with Simon Baldwin 5th, then Aidan Hills, Jack Sycamore, Colin Bysouth, James Harris, and Gary Townsend to round out the top 10. Sam Tatler was next ahead of Carl Garnett and Lee Patterson, making his debut in the championship, then Christian White and Alec Livesley. The rest of them filing in behind. Johnny Greensmith and George Grant we saw were the only 2 non-finishers from what was a breathless opening race of the weekend.
I don't even know where to start, Luke. That was fabulous racing by yourself, but Jack just came out of nowhere there.
Yeah, all I could do was win. There's no way I was going to get the fastest lap because I was, going through the headwind out in front. The car wasn't handling as good as it was yesterday, so hopefully it's going to be wet tomorrow, because if it's going to be dry, it's going to be down to the wire. But if it's wet, we might have a little bit more of a chance. But Jack drove fantastic. He was so quick. 1 more lap and he'd have had me. He so almost had me on, in that race. But again, I was out front, had to manage, make sure I didn't go off the track. So I'm really pleased with the result. But Jack's making it a little bit more difficult than what I was expecting after that race.
So he's still keeping you on your toes. However, I want to just quickly talk about the safety car. What happened there? Were you thinking, I've got a bit of breathing room?
Yeah, I mean, for the first 2 laps, it was going perfect. Me and Aidan were going to work together, build a gap, and then if Aidan was quicker, he was welcome to the win. I think he would have got it. safety car came out and everyone's with us. So yeah, that didn't play in my favour, but you know, sometimes the safety car has played in my favour. At Croft it played in my favour. So swings and roundabouts, but you know, I did everything I did. I've taken the win, so looking forward to race 2.
Brilliant. So we'll be expecting to catch the rain dance later on this afternoon from yourself.
Yeah, the rain dance will be coming out. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we need that rain to come.
Brilliant. Well done.
Cheers. Thank you.
Jack, you're starting to get a reputation of being able to tear up the track.
Yeah, I'd rather not have the reputation. I'd rather start up front and just go away with it. But yeah, no, we qualified bad. We didn't have new tyres. Everyone else did in front of us. So yeah, qualified 14th. So chips were down, and I was hoping it would dry because I knew I could come through. And yeah, to be honest, I expected to scrape top 5, but I didn't think it'd be that good. But car was absolutely phenomenal. So AK done a brilliant job with it. But yeah, maybe another lap and I've had a look. I nearly got him on the last lap. I just made a slight mistake and let him have it. But no, game on in it for the rest of the meeting. But yeah, we'll see.
Well, obviously the door's still open for you to become the 2018 championship. I've got to ask, do you have a game plan in tow?
Not all. I mean, we're 2 points down now, which, you know, in the end of the world, and we've got another 2 races, and I think it's going to come down to race 3 reverse grid, and that's going to be the real decider. But it could be wet tomorrow, and then we're on rubbish tyres again. So it'll be what it'll be. But honestly, I won't give it fighting. I'll keep going for it. So he's got a hard job on his hand.
Well, we look forward to seeing you out there. We can't wait till this afternoon.
Thank you. Cheers.